Wait, am I seeing this correct? One second, my friends. US can destroy all of Iran with only B21s. My friends, this is a crazy title, but real talk, knowing how strong America is, I kinda believe it. So, before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description, and let's play it.
A mere 72 hours after it started, the bombing is over. Iran lies in ruins. An eerie quiet descends across the devastated land. Smoke rises from the rubble all across the nation.
Wait. My friends, did I understood this correct? America can destroy Iran, such a massive country, by the way, in 72 hours? Did I understood this correct? Look, America is impressive when it comes to military power, but even for America's standards, I thought this is crazy. I mean, 72 hours, really?
Chunks of metal and debris are scattered where military installations, government buildings, and critical infrastructure used to be. Giant craters fill the space previously occupied by the country's controversial nuclear facilities. Iran.
Wait. Okay, my friends. Sorry. Look, I believe Iran is a strong country. That's why this is impressing me so much. And of course, I'm aware of what is going on between Israel and Iran. War always bad. Always a lot of people end up dying. Innocent people, of course. And it's sad. It is what it is. But you guys told me something that will stay with me forever. Basically, is war is bad, but not being prepared is even worse. And that's true, and we are seeing that more and more every day with the world going so crazy.
Iran no longer exists as a military power.
Let's bring it back, my friends.
Nuclear facilities. Iran no longer exists as a military power. The regime has been destroyed by a US superweapon that it didn't see coming and was powerless to stop. We're talking.
So actually, the regime in Iran, I mean, it's an awful one. That's the reality. And even if a lot of people will die, because there is no way to avoid that, I think going forward, those people will be much better.
Destroyed by a US superweapon that it didn't see coming and was powerless to stop. We're talking about the B21 Raider stealth bomber. War games suggest that this next-generation aircraft could be the key to taking out Iran, both clinically.
My friends, the scariest bomber in the world.
And rapidly. So let's take a closer look at how the US could hypothetically destroy Iran using primarily B-21s. As Lieutenant General David Depchula, retired, Dean of the Mitchell Institute, puts it, the B-21 isn't just a new bomber. It's a flying supercomputer with AI-driven stealth. Iran's air defenses won't know what hit.
Sorry, did I understood that correct again? AI-driving stealth? Sorry, my friends, this is crazy.
Depchula, retired, Dean of the Mitchell Institute, puts it, the B-21 isn't just a new bomber. It's a flying supercomputer with AI-driven stealth. Iran's air defenses won't know what hit them. The B-21 Raider is the US Air Force's next-generation stealth bomber, designed to penetrate the world's most advanced air defenses. As of early 2025, 3 of them have been delivered to the Air Force for testing. However, the plan is for a fleet of between 100 and 200 to be in active service by the early 2030s. But as we'll...
So, sorry, this is the next evolution of the B-2 bomber, right? The B-2 bomber was already so damn crazy. Honestly, that looks like an alien spaceship or something.
We'll discover it will probably only take a dozen or so to dismantle Iran as a military power. B-2 Spirit bomber, which the B-21 is intended to replace, is primarily intended for strategic bombing missions. The B-21 can also carry out such bombing tasks and even more effectively, but it can also carry nuclear warhead-tipped missiles and be used for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, or ISR. As a bonus, the estimated unit cost is expected to be around...
Sorry, but what a photo! Look at the B-2 bomber with the American flag on the background. My friends, I know I repeat myself a lot of times, but can I get a like for the American military right now? Of course I can. I know you guys spend a lot of money on this, I'm aware, but it's also damn impressive.
around $700 million. That means the B21 will come in at around a third of the cost of the B2, if prices for the B2, which were mostly produced at the tail end of the last century, are adjusted for inflation. The B21 features a 6th generation, low observable or stealth design, much improved over the B2, and requires significantly less maintenance. It has a range of over 6,000 nautical miles without refueling, and can carry a payload of between 10,000 and 30,000 pounds in stealth mode. By comparison, the B2 can carry up to 40,000 pounds of ordnance, but at the
Sorry, we have to pay attention. They look basically the same. So, 12 and payload, okay.
In stealth mode. By comparison, the B2 can carry up to 40,000 pounds of ordnance, but at the expense of much of its stealth capabilities. Similarly to the B2, the B21 cruises at the high subsonic speed of around Mach 0.9 and has a crew of 2, a pilot and a mission commander. However, there are also plans for unmanned versions, making this arguably the ultimate unmanned weapon.
Just like in a military conflict, in today's fast-paced world,
I mean, sorry, my friends. Look, if you guys did like me pausing so much, but when I react to this, I really want to understand what is going on. I don't watch the video and say, yeah, that's it, brother. No, my friends. Did I understood again that correct? They want to make this basically a drone?
And a mission commander. However, there are also plans for unmanned versions, making this arguably the ultimate unmanned weapon.
just like in a military conflict, in today's fast-paced world, staying ahead means being able to adapt and execute quicker than anyone else. And whether you're steering a business or managing a mission-critical team, having the right tools at your fingertips isn't just helpful, it's essential.
In terms of firepower, the B21 can carry both nuclear and conventional payloads, including the 30,000-pound GBU-57 MOP bunker-busting bomb, the 5,071-pound JASSM-ER stealthy cruise missile, and the air-launched B61-12 nuclear gravity bomb. The B61-12 has a variable yield of between 0.3 and 340 kilotons, and is equipped with full fusing and delivery options, including air and ground burst fusing, freefall, retarded freefall, and laydown delivery. However, to take out Iran, the US probably won't have to use them, particularly if the US has introduced its long-range hypersonic weapon and the air-launched rapid response weapon, or ARRW, hypersonic missiles.
Okay, my friends, here is where I would love that you guys explain me something. Specific people that, of course, understands a lot about military stuff. So, I saw that Iran ended up shooting a lot of missiles to Israel, and the Iron Dome ended up blocking them, right? But these type of, missiles, can the Iron Dome block them? No way, right? This is quite more advanced than what Iran owns. Of course, I know America is not attacking Israel. I'm aware of that. If something happens, is actually America attacking Iran. But I was wondering if the Iron Dome is able to stop technology this advanced.
These next-generation missiles will be able to fly at the speeds of anywhere from Mach 5 to Mach 15 and perform maneuvers to evade air defenses at those speeds. They're currently in development, but when they're ready, the B-21 will be able to carry and fire them. 4 main features give the B-21 its edge and make it the perfect weapon to use against Iran. The first, as briefly noted earlier, is its next-generation stealth technology. The B-21 sports an adaptive radar cross-section, or RCS, which uses new, advanced metamaterials and coatings to evade even low-frequency radars. That's particularly relevant when attacking Iran, since the nation's resistance radar relies on this kind of radar. The B-21 also produces a reduced heat signature compared to the B-2, making it harder for Iran's infrared-guided Khordad-15 radar systems and thermal-based systems to track. And if that wasn't enough, the B-21 also features an AI-powered electronic warfare, or EW suite, which is capable of jamming or spoofing enemy radars autonomously mid-flight. The second key feature that makes the B-21 ideal for attacking Iran is its deep penetration capabilities. The bomber can switch roles during a single sortie, for example from bomber to ISR to EW. It also has a much longer range than the US's other primary attack aircraft, the F-35A and F-22. The F-35A has an effective combat range of 770 miles in an interdiction configuration, which can be extended to around 1,200 nautical miles with external fuel tanks. The F22 has a combat range of 680 miles in subsonic flight, which can be extended to over 1,600 nautical miles in a similar configuration. With a range of over 6,000 nautical miles, that means the B-21 doesn't need forward bases like the F-35 and F-22. As we'll discover a little later on, that extra range could make a critical difference in an attack against Iran, where the US's nearby bases and aircraft carriers would be vulnerable to missile strikes. The third key feature is the aforementioned payload flexibility of the B-21. Even without making use of nukes, the B-21 can carry 2 GBU-57s at once, or up to 16 JASSM-ER cruise missiles for standoff strikes against air defenses or hypersonic missiles like the ARGMER Arrow. As both aircraft and missiles are still in testing, it's not clear at this point just how many ARGMER the B-21 could carry. However, the US Air Force has considered using older
I was about to say, this is the old model that America uses to bomb the countries, right? The B1B Lancer. This is still an amazing one for a lot of countries. Actually, it's fair to say one thing, my friends. Russia is getting exposed every day, I feel like. Because, look, America is giving some old weapons to Ukraine. They are putting a fight. America gives weapons to Israel, from what I understand at least, and they are completely destroying Iran right now. And Iran, a lot of technology, a lot of weapons came from Russia. So if I don't believe this will happen, I think the biggest problem for America is at this point is China. But if in the future America goes to war with Russia, I don't think this will be even close like people thought, let's say, 10 years ago.
GM-1838.
Am I crazy to say that, my friends?
It's the B-21 could carry. However,
sorry, of course I'm aware, nuclear stuff, atomic bombs, things get crazy really fast. No matter if you have better technology or not, those type of weapons, they have a devastation that it's crazy actually. But if the fight was fair, if you know what I mean.
the US Air Force has considered using older B-1B bombers to carry up to 31 hypersonic weapons, including the ARGMER Arrow, mounted on the Common Strategic Rotary Launcher and external pylons, so it's likely that the B-21 will be able to wield a similar quantity. Moreover,
that one is still an amazing one. I just don't think it's no stealth, right? Those are the stealth bombers. That one is an amazing bomber, but no stealth.
B-21 comes equipped with Loyal Wingman drone control capabilities. That means it can command attritional drones such as the XQ-58A Valkyrie to scout or absorb SAM fire. The Valkyrie can operate at altitudes ranging from 50 feet to 45,000 feet, with a cruising speed of Mach 0.72 and a maximum range of approximately 3,452 miles. However, Kratos, the developer, is also developing variants such as the MQ-58B, which is intended for suppression of enemy air defenses, or SEAD roles. The B-21 would most likely use these or similar variants as loyal wingmen during an attack on Iran's multi-layered air defenses. Finally, the B-21 has been developed to be much easier to maintain and upgrade than the other aircraft the US might use to attack Iran. The B-21 aims for less than 50 hours of maintenance per flight hour, half of the 100 hours required for the B-2. Plus, its open architecture software makes it a cinch to upgrade. For example, it can regularly receive the latest EW algorithms to counter Iran's Bavar 373. The Bavar 373 is more or less an analog of Russia's S-400 system. On paper, it's a pretty formidable system, capable of detecting up to 100 targets at distances exceeding 280 miles, tracking them from around 250 miles, and engaging them from around 186 miles away. The system features advanced radar technology, including the Mirage 4 radar for target detection and tracking, which enhances its ability to identify and engage so many targets simultaneously.
I could be wrong, but I actually believe this is a Russian system.
New integrated radar system, unveiled in February 2025, allows it to independently detect, track, and engage targets without relying on external radar support. The system is mounted on an 8x8 Transporter Erector Launcher and Radar, or TELAR, vehicle, allowing for rapid deployment and repositioning. And the Syad-4B missile that it employs is capable of reaching speeds of up to Mach 9, approximately 9,840 feet per second, enhancing its effectiveness against high-speed threats like hypersonic missiles. It's the creme de la creme of Iran's air defenses. However, against the B-21, it'll be like trying to hit a bullet with a pea shooter. That's because the B-21's stealth and jamming capabilities will reduce its detection range to 310 miles, nowhere near enough to effectively counter the B-21's high-tech, high-speed, highly destructive payloads.
So this is the creme de la creme, with some French accent. No, so never mind. But basically, this is the creme de la creme and does not work against the B2 bomber. Good.
Combined with the B-21's new radar-absorbing structure, which will defeat the VHF band of Iran's array of low-frequency radar systems, Iran simply won't be able to detect the B-21s soon enough to take action against them. That means the B-21's payloads of JASSM ERs will be able to destroy Iran's many Khordad-15 mobile SAM sites before the aircraft enter the engagement zone, while the GBU-57s take out targets up to 196 feet deep. So what would an attack on Iran, based around the use of B-21s, look like? What would the
Finally, let's see how easy can this be.
US target and where? The first consideration is where to launch the B-21s. The aircraft's extended range provides a variety of options. One option that should put the B-21's base beyond reach of Iran's effective missile range would be Diego Garcia, the joint US and UK base in the Chagos archipelago in the Indian Ocean. Another would be forward-deployed NATO air bases in Europe, such as RAF Fairford in the UK. These options might be necessary if the US's allies in the region refuse to allow permission for an attack on Iran to take place from US air bases on their territory. However, if allies like Qatar and Saudi Arabia grant permission for their territory and airspace to be used, the US has multiple options in the Middle East or Persian Gulf region. While the exact
And from what I know, Saudi Arabia, I mean, this is a strong word, but I believe hates Iran at this point. They really don't like them. They follow the Islam, but is a bit different. They are quite more extreme. They are really extreme in Iran versus Saudi Arabia. Islam.
Airspace to be used, the US has multiple options in the Middle East or Persian Gulf region. While the exact number of US bases is classified, presumably there are about 750 overseas military bases in more than 80 countries, and changes as requirements do, as of 2021, there were at least 17 bases capable of hosting a B-21 attack on Iran. Of those, the one most likely to be used is Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which hosts the largest concentration of US troops in the region besides Kuwait, though there are other suitable US facilities in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman. Considering Iran's geographical location and likely placement of its most important air defenses, the optimal, least risky route is probably to approach from the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, or Iraq. Of course, it's unlikely that the US would attempt a major attack on Iran using B-21s alone. To ensure success, the US would undoubtedly call upon other parts of its advanced and diverse array of weaponry and support systems.
Of course.
Primary among those would be electronic warfare and SEAD support. The US would likely deploy several EA-18G Growlers to jam Iranian radars in different parts.
Sorry, you know what? Not the first time this jet appears, EA-18G Growler, and I have no idea how good this one is. There is a couple of videos about this jet. Leave me the number 18 if I should watch a video about this one, my friends, because I have to learn.
Parts of the country. The Growler is a carrier-based electronic warfare aircraft and is actually a specialized version of the two-seater Boeing FA-18F Super Hornet. It's capable of disrupting, deceiving, or denying a broad range of military electronic systems, including Iran's radars and communications. It does this utilizing its advanced EW systems, including the ALQ-99 low and high band jamming pods, which provide enhanced situational awareness and networking capabilities. The Growler can carry a variety of weapons, including AGM-88 anti-radiation missiles, AIM-120 air-to-air missiles, and AIM-9X Sidewinder short-range air-to-air missiles. However, on this...
See, it's an amazing one, and we talk about the F-35, the F-16, the F22 Raptor. Of course, those are the best of the best, right? But look at this one. It's also an amazing one. Again, my friends, leave me the number 18. I can react to a video just talking about this one.
This mission, its main purpose will be to blind Iran's air defenses, to enable the B-21s to get as close as possible to their targets undetected before unleashing their payloads. The Air Force could also deploy F-35As to execute SEAD tasks using AARGMER anti-radiation missiles. AARGMER stands for Advanced Anti-Radiation Guided Missile Extended Range. Due for delivery sometime during 2025, it's a supersonic, air-launched tactical missile system developed by Northrop Grumman. It's designed to detect, identify, locate, and engage enemy air defense radar targets. The weapon could also be carried and deployed by the Growlers, but at the cost of exposing them to Iran's air defenses. So it makes sense for the Air Force to use F-35s, likely the F-35C Lightning II Joint Strike Fighter version, taking advantage of their stealth and speed to hit Iran's radar, while the Growlers handle their EW tasks obliquely. Another important
It's crazy to say that the F-35 may be the best jet in the world. It's crazy to say that.
element of the attack where the B-21s would benefit from support is in the area of ISR. The US's extensive network of satellites would undoubtedly be used extensively to identify the latest movements around key targets and to track the movement of Iran's fleet of mobile missile launchers. However, closer to the ground, the US would almost certainly make use of its RQ-180 stealth drones for real-time targeting and battlefield.
What the hell is that? That's a mini B-2 bomber as a drone. Okay. Oh, man. See, I know nothing.
It would almost certainly make use of its RQ-180 stealth drones for real-time targeting and battlefield awareness. Although its development has been shrouded in secrecy, as of 2025, there are believed to already be 7 RQ-180 stealth drones in active service. It's also believed that the drone's development has been linked to the development of the B-21, increasing the likelihood that it will be deployed to improve the efficiency of the B-21's strikes in real time. The
They look the same.
RQ-180 is designed to operate undetected in highly contested airspace, making it a valuable asset for ISR missions like this one. Its stealth capabilities and reduced radar cross-section allow it to gather critical intelligence without being detected by enemy air defenses. If need be for supplementary battlefield awareness, the US could also whip out some of its aging fleet of Boeing E-3 Sentries, commonly known as AWACS. And if it really wanted to blanket the area, it could dust the cobwebs off its recently retired fleet of E-8 J-Stars. With over 141,000 flight hours clocked up over 32 years of service, this airborne battle management, command and control, and ISR platform has certainly proven its worth. In the background, US
No, all of those planes, all of those jets, everything sounds amazing. But the question is, what about, my friends, be ready, this is the most important question in this video. Can they bring the A-10 Warthog? Is that how you pronunciate the name? A-10 Warthog, my favorite one.
Cyber Command will be hard at work, attempting to disable Iranian air defense networks preemptively, disrupt command and control operations, and cause as much pandemonium on the ground as possible. The US Space Force would also be standing by to implement anti-satellite measures should Iran try to use commercial satellites for targeting. The B-21s would also need fighter escorts to ensure air superiority while they execute their missions. Here, the most likely candidates are F22 Raptors to counter any of the Iranian Air Force's MiG-29s or Su-24s that may take to the skies during the raids. At the same
My friends, I saw a video about the F22 Raptor. Blew my mind. Search that on my channel. My friends, I was in shock. That jet is capable of do coffee, toasts, and destroy an entire country at the same time.
F-15EXs could also be deployed to launch long-range air-to-air strike missions against any Iranian missile and drone-based counterattacks. Finally, to ensure the highest probability of successful B-21 raids, the US would likely precede these raids with standoff and cruise missile strikes to soften and distract defenses. This can be accomplished with B-52Hs, launching AGM-158 JASSM ERs from the air and/or Navy Tomahawks fired from submarines and destroyers positioned in the Persian Gulf and Red Sea. With all the support in place, the attack is ready to commence. So how would it likely play out? The US would likely pursue the tried-and-tested shock and awe strategy, systematically dismantling Iran's defenses before striking high-value targets. After some defense-softening strikes have exposed Iran's defenses and hit some of their targets, the first wave of B-21s would rapidly appear. Only 12 to 24 are estimated to be needed to complete the entire mission. Their first task is to utterly
Sorry? This is crazy.
defenses and hit some of their targets, the first wave of B-21s would rapidly appear. Only 12 to 24 are estimated to be needed to complete the entire mission. Their first task is to utterly degrade Iran's air defenses and early warning systems. The smaller Iran's ability to defend itself, the greater the chances of complete victory. The first wave of missiles strike Iran's key radar sites such as air defense zones in Bandar Abbas, Hormuzgan Province, Tehran Air Defense HQ, and the Isfahan SAM complex. The next wave targets Iran's S-300, Bavar 373, and Khordad 15 SAM air defense systems situated across the country, along with EW and signals intelligence hubs. With defenses more or less blind and incapacitated, the path leading to the main
Sorry, but Israel is not doing this, right? Israel is trying to hit the places where they believe they are developing nuclear weapons, right?
Object of the attack is now clear. It's likely that the primary objective of the attack will be the destruction of Iran's nuclear and missile programs. This is where the bunker-busting GBU-57 MOPS,
I guess Israel did that or is doing that.
and if necessary and authorized, B2112.
Sorry, but they are doing that with what? See, that's the media does not do a great job explaining how they are destroying this. I would love to understand what jet, what system,
Busting GBU-57 MOPS, and if necessary and authorized, B6112 nuclear Earth penetrators come in. Iran's nuclear facilities are all buried deep underground or dug deep into heavily fortified mountains. Iran's vast arsenal of missiles and drones, estimated to number well over 100,000, is almost entirely housed in heavily fortified missile cities deep underground. It's unknown how many of these missile cities there are, but it's believed they number in the dozens, if not hundreds. The biggest risk of the operation is Iran's ability to retaliate against US bases in the region and Israel. The consequences of a large-scale...
Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? America have a lot of bases there, because if they try to send something to America, to the mainland, I think they are not that dumb, with all the respect.
Scale and successful retaliation are unpredictable and could be grim, so dismantling them as completely as possible would be high on the US's agenda. Bunker busters rain down on Iran's key nuclear facilities, the Fordow fuel enrichment plant near Qom, the Natanz uranium enrichment facility in Isfahan, and the Arak heavy water reactor in Markazi province. These sites are fortified deep underground, making them challenging targets. Additionally, strikes hit known missile complexes near Kermanshah, Isfahan, and Shiraz, as well as the Shahid Haj Ali Movahed Research Center in Tehran, a facility linked to Iran's ballistic missile program. One or more B-21s would certainly focus on Bandar Abbas Naval Base and the Persian Gulf Coast. It's from here that Iran could launch a highly problematic retaliation, namely the mining of the Straits of Hormuz. That would cause a major disruption to global trade, particularly the critical flow of oil and gas from the Gulf states, with unpredictable but likely dire consequences for the global economy, including the US.
By the way, the price of oil is going up like crazy in the last couple of days.
Third wave of attacks would aim to decapitate the military and government. The B-21s would swoop over the whole country, missiles would rain down on IRGC command centers in Qom and Tehran, naval bases in Bandar Abbas and on Port Chabahar, and leadership bunkers, likely to be deep underground or dug into the mountains. The supporting F-35s, B-52s, F-22s, destroyers and submarines would keep hitting other military installations and facilities in the background. At the same time, the B-21s would target critical infrastructure like oil refineries, ports, airports, communications, and power grids. At this point, if the mission has been successful, Iran's military potential and leadership would have been completely dismantled. However, given the sheer size of the country and how well spread out its defenses and military installations are, it's likely that another wave of attacks, perhaps two, would be likely before the B-21s can return to base and mopping up operations can begin. Altogether, the war games suggest that 12 to 24 B-21s could take out all major targets within 72 hours. However, if Iran retains the ability to retaliate, the campaign could go on for longer, and the greater Iran's ability to retaliate, the longer that time frame is likely to be. However, the risk of retaliation by Iran is likely to be lower than if the US used other methods to try to take out Iran, i.e. not using a B-21-centric approach. Indeed, the war games suggest this approach will be more effective than other methods like a cruise missile barrage, an attack using drone swarms in conjunction with EW, or a hybrid approach using B-21s, cruise missiles, drone swarms, and EW. If stealth holds, a B-21-centric attack has an estimated 85 to 90% chance of success, as compared to 60 to 70% from a cruise missile barrage, 50% from drone swarms plus EW, and 80 to 90% from a hybrid attack. However, the B-21-centric approach also carries a much higher risk and cost. If one or more B-21s were to be lost, the political fallout would be huge, much greater.
Ooh, okay, that's a good point, because they are so damn expensive, right?
To them for any of the other methods. Most of Iran's drones and missiles were reverse-engineered from US hardware that it had shot down over the years. The last thing the US needs is a B-21 falling into the hands of the likes of the Houthis or Hezbollah, Iran's proxies. The cost of this kind
Damn, that's a great point.
of attack would also come in at around $15 to $30 billion, as compared to $10 to $20 billion for a cruise missile barrage, $5 to $10 billion for a drone swarm plus EW attack, and $12 to $25 billion for a hybrid attack, where much of the expense would be B-21 related. But the biggest risk perhaps comes from the fallout. The other methods are not likely to be able to completely dismantle Iran so rapidly, if at all. So the consequences would be, to a large extent, predictable. Iran would retaliate with missile barrages, which the US's massive presence in the area, combined with its allies, could deal with. The ladder of escalation would be under the US's control. However, the complete decapitation of Iran would leave chaos, with potential for all kinds of escalations, proxy wars, and instability, spreading over the whole of Western Asia and beyond. The destruction of Iran's oil industry would certainly cause severe economic problems for China, creating even more unpredictable consequences. It's impossible to predict what negative political, economic, and security consequences could ultimately blow back onto the US as a result of the power vacuum it's created. All these potential repercussions notwithstanding, one thing is clear though. If the US does decide to take out Iran comprehensively, then the B21 Raider is the best tool in its toolbox for the job. But what do you think? Do you agree with the war games? Does Iran have a snowball's chance in hell against the B21? Is there a better way to go about
Wait, what the hell? My friend, sorry. US can destroy all of China with B21? No, that one is difficult to believe. China? You know what, my friends? Number 22, or a like, if I should watch this one, because this is a crazy title. Even more crazy than this one, for logic reasons. My friends, so the thing about the war. Look, of course, I hope for peace all the time. But I don't think it will be possible at this point. Israel and Iran are really getting crazy with this. If America gets involved, I hope everything goes for the best for America. You guys know I'm Team America all the way. From what I understand, Iran can call for help with Russia and maybe China. They are part of BRICS or something. A lot of speculation going around right now. Who knows? Maybe this will be just between Israel and Iran. I also believe a lot of Americans don't want to have anything to do with this. So that's another reality. But I thought the video was great. So leave a like if you also had fun watching this with me. And see you guys in the next one. Bye, my friends.